right, of course, with me in studio, as I mentioned earlier on, we have CS, Environment, Climate Change and Forestry. Her name is Dr. Deborah M. Barasa. And of course, right here, right now, she is in studio with us as we shift gears and we start having this conversation about UNEA 7. The theme this year, Daktari, is advancing sustainable solutions for a resilient planet. We will get into that. Firstly, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. And of course, elaborating further on what this particular, the conference will mean for Kenya moving forward. This year's theme, as we know, is advancing sustainable solutions for a resilient planet. And what exactly does this mean? And why is this session a global one, especially one that will increase our significance when it comes to climate change and matters, environment?
Thank you so much, Aurora, for having me here today. And we are really excited as a country to host UNEA 7. You know, UNEA is the highest decision-making body when it comes to matters of environment.
Absolutely.
Actually, globally. And so we have been positioned in a position to lead or to champion environmental stewardship and matters of environment. And really, it's a convening of ministers, experts, implementing development partners, CSOs, activists, and other people who are in the space of environment.
Right.
And we are going to have more than 4,000 delegates here, with even high-level delegates coming to Kenya to discuss on the matters of environment with this theme. And as you know, the world has had multiple overlapping crises when it comes to environment, issues of climate change, issues of biodiversity loss, environmental risks, pollution, among others. And Kenya is not left behind in these matters. Yes. We suffer from drought, we suffer from floods, we have environmental crisis. And so we are looking at this and sharing what we have learned in innovation, in transformation, that is the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, in environmental stewardship, sharing our best practices in this platform, and being part of the decision-making body, the global environmental governance, because we'll be also sharing some of our key resolutions.
Right.
Being AMR, that is antimicrobial resistance, artificial intelligence, among others. And so we are looking to share these best practices, to champion in matters of environment, and to steer action towards addressing environmental crisis, which is occurring across the globe.
All right.
Yes.
Now, Dr. you mentioned that the hope is that Kenya will be positioning itself as a leader, and not just a regional leader, but also a global leader when it comes to the milestones that we've had, the achievements that we've made in championing for climate activism, climate action as well. So what exactly are we doing as, Kenya, the host nation, to be able to position ourselves in such a way that everybody who comes here not just feels comfortable, but also sees all these milestones and achievements that we've made as a nation?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. We are not just hosts. We are global champions.
Yes.
We are regional champions. We have our president being the chair of the CAHOSC, and we have championed matters of environment, including the banning of the plastics, among others, which we hope to look into. But best practices, when you look right now, we have the renewable energy, which is really 92 to 95% of the energy that is being utilized in most of our areas. Again, when you look at the 15 billion tree growing campaign by the president, looking into healing the land, restoration, also addressing the issues of climate resilience, among others, we are champions of these nature-based solutions. And circular economy, we've had a lot of public-private partnership. We are looking into plugging in and ensuring that we improve a circular economy, even as we create green jobs and have a green economy. And issues of climate-smart agriculture, and as well as the community-based conservation. So all these are best practices. And, know, Kenya is really a climate vulnerable nation, but we have been able to really champion this. We've had our pragmatic solutions, and so we want to lead, we want to show our best practices, we want to champion these wonderful practices that we've had. But far from that is the issue of the resolutions that, again, we are tabling, the issues of antimicrobial resistance, artificial intelligence, and as well as the sports for sustainability. All these will be plugged into the global environmental governance, the decision at the end of UNEA 7. So we hope to bring in the pragmatic solutions that we've had so that we can ensure that they are implemented in the years to come.
All right. Now, of course, you've mentioned a few of the resolutions that we will be championing during this particular General Assembly, you know, the things that will be discussed moving forward. But how exactly will Kenya champion Africa's collective voice at UNEA 7, you know, as a regional leader, as we've mentioned, especially on things like climate vulnerability? You know, we have the adaptation, finance, and just things like the transitions moving forward that we will be having. So how exactly are we going to be that regional voice that Africa desperately needs?
Yes. As Kenya, because we are the host, we must amplify the voice of Africa. We must ensure that the realities of Africa are reflected in the decisions that are being made. Because, as you said, we are vulnerable nations.
Yes.
We've had these rising temperatures, we've had erratic rainfalls, you know, water is not accessible to most, the scarcity of water, among others. So we are impacted most, yet we contribute the least when it comes to
carbon footprint.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And so we want to ensure that the voice of Africa is heard, that we are advocating for the things of the AGN, that is the African Group of Negotiators. And what are these? Increasing adaptation financing for Africa. Yeah. Again, ensuring that we have predictable climate financing. We want to see accountability, want to see transparency, want to see commitment from the global north. That is tangible. So the language has to ensure that there is indeed commitment, that the resources are allocated to address the issues of, to address climate action in Africa and the global south. We want to talk about capacity building and technology transfer. This is how we can again boost our economy as well as create jobs for the youth and other people in Kenya. So we look into that, we want to champion all that. And myself, as well as the ministry, we want to provide the leadership, bring unity among Africa to ensure that we have a united front when we are discussing these matters. Again, we want to ensure that we are building a case supporting our AGN in technical support as well as in matters of diplomacy. And you know what we have said clearly is that we need to increase adaptation financing. We have to have predictable climate financing, technology transfer, as well as capacity building, among other interventions that will be able to help Africa in addressing climate change.
All right. Now, Daktari, you know, you mentioned the 15 billion tree initiative, the one that our president has very much championed and is hoping to achieve very soon by 2032, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And of course, that's something that Kenya has had as a national initiative. We also have things like the Beta initiative, right? So these are initiatives that have put us in a very strong position. Do you think that these will actually impact Kenya's negotiating stance and also give us the desired outcome that we very desperately want and need during this year's UNEA 7?
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is because our approach is pragmatic. It is authentic. When you talk about Beta, it's all about job creation. It's about boosting our economy. It's about the mama mboga, you know, and the farmer.
Right.
Yeah. So when you look at that, we are improving the quality of life. And how are we doing that? By creating jobs. So the ministry, for every policy we have, That is what we look into. And maybe we can go into the 15 billion, where you look at, we worked on the legal frameworks, and then we came up with strategies and policies. We developed our national landscape ecosystem restoration program. But again, we had strategies on agroforestry, on commercial forestry, on RED+, among others. These are actually strategies that will improve the economy, that will create jobs. But we did not stop there. We moved to the implementation phase, the operations. And what did we do? We, we scaled up seed production.
Right.
So now we have more than 1.5 seeds being produced for tree growing. And now we've moved to seedling production, where the president also gave a directive that we need to have the seedlings, more than 1.5 billion seedlings produced in Kenya. So we are coming to have more than 300 tree nurseries that will be producing around 2 million seedlings, that is 600 million seedlings. And then we have 17 mega tree nurseries.
Okay.
So we want to have massive production of seedlings. And after that, now the president will have a rallying call to Kenyans to go out and plant. This will also improve community ownership in matters of tree growing and tree planting, because we want to have a culture of tree growing and protecting our planet, protecting the people. So you can see that the approach is pragmatic. It is making impact. It justifies climate financing in Africa, in the global south. It justifies the impact on green investment, green jobs, green economy, etc. And through that, we know that we can have reliable water, we can have food, we can have clean air, and we can also boost our economy, among other wonderful outcomes once we have implemented that. And so we want to showcase this best practice, which we believe will be fed into the global environmental governance, the decision-making body, and come up with the clear decisions that will support nature-based solutions.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Ari. Now, Kenya is sponsoring 3 major resolutions at UNEA 7, right? These 3, of course, the first one addresses antimicrobial resistance. The second one is about environmental sustainability of AI. And the third one is using sports, that is environmental sustainable solutions through sport. So using sport, we are going to try and see how sporting events can be sustainable. So what can you tell us about these 3 resolutions, and specifically why these 3 resolutions, you feel are very important, and how they're going to be giving us that power to be able to take this agenda to the next level, and also going to address the gaps globally?
Now, we can start with the antimicrobial resistance.
Right.
We have these microbes within the environment that are resistant to most of the antibiotics, let me say that, or antimicrobial treatment that we have as a globe, right? And this is because when we have this AMR, antimicrobial resistance, the microbes are around. When you look at the health sector, we have done a lot when it comes to the human health.
Right.
Equally for the zoonotics, the animals. But for the environment, little has been done to address the issues of AMR. And so we are looking at this platform and seeing how are we going to have decisions to look into antimicrobial resistance, whether it's lab and environmental surveillance, among other interventions, because our environment is contaminated. AMR is a global threat.
Yes.
It's actually a growing pandemic, and yet it's ubiquitous. It's within our environmental spaces, in the surfaces. People are dying because of infections caused by antimicrobial resistance.
Right.
And so we want to look into ensuring that we have decisions, especially in the environment, that will feed into that One Health approach to AMR. For artificial intelligence, it's quite interesting,
Yes.
Aurora. I was in a flight with one of these young gentlemen, the Gen Zs, you guys, and he was telling me about what he can do with the AI space. And he was able to identify, first of all, I asked him about Transoya, and he told me that he looked at his gadget, and he told me 28% of Transoya has maize. And he also looked at
Impressive.
acacia trees in Kajiado, baobab trees in other areas, the Asal regions, among others. And so it tells me that we have not done enough when it comes to AI. We can utilize AI in the environment space.
Innovation, technology.
Absolutely. Because, you know, when we match this up, and you know we are being called out for accountability, especially with Gen Zs, how are we using innovation and technologies to identify that? And so as a ministry and as a country, we are also calling for those resolutions. But yet there's a flip side to that. You know, there are minerals that are going to the development of these computers. We have energy, we have e-waste. And so those again have to be addressed exhaustively. So it's an interesting topic which I know that the youth are really excited about. And for sports, for sustainability, yes, sport can be used as a platform to create awareness, equally to address the environmental degradation that may occur or the impacts and the challenges that may occur during sports. And so we look into those resolutions as a country, and we are really excited to lead in those ones,
All right. Now, of course, now as we move on to what exactly UNEA 7 will be about holistically, there are things that will be discussed at length, you know, things like the closing the emissions gap. We also have things like advancing the plastic treaty, promoting nature-based solutions, and also strengthening global chemical and pollution governance. Now, when we talk about all of these different topics, all of these different elements that make up what we call our environment, how exactly are we going to be trying to address these issues one after the other, just so that, you know, these topics are dissected, we are able to analyze them, and we're able to come up with solutions during the UNEA 7?
Yes. UNEA 7, what it does is that it brings interconnectedness.
Okay.
We all have these environmental challenges. I always say when the plastics get to the ocean, they will get right to our coastal region, right? So we can have good legal frameworks, good regulations, we have enforcement and compliance, but if our neighbors are not doing the same, the plastics will still get there.
Somehow,
and, yes, and within the ocean we have our the animals there, the whales, the sharks.
Turtles.
Yes, and they ingest this plastic, they get obstruction, they die. So that is why we are talking about that interconnected. We need to bring together member states and we need to come up with solutions. We need to build momentum towards ending plastic pollution in the world. Again, we need to challenge countries and push them towards transition into renewable energy. Equally, the issues of phasing out of these harmful chemicals in order for us to have better alternatives. And for Kenya right now, we are looking at asbestos and how we can phase that out. So those are a few of the things that we're looking into, the resolutions that we hope to have that will change the governance and ensure that we are improving interventions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. We still have a lot to discuss and we will continue to have this conversation. It has been quite an insightful one. Of course, with me, I have the CS Environment, Climate Change and Forestry, Dr. Deborah Barasa, and we will continue to have this conversation in studio. But for now, let's take a short break, and once we return, we'll be asking her how prepared we are to host 4,000 delegates and what exactly will be the benefit from having all these different people from all over the world here in Kenya come 8th of December. So that's going to be coming up right after this short break.